So, JJ, do we need to switch tapes, or did you already? Okay, so we need to officially come out of executive session.
No, you've already done that.
We did? So we can open up the workshop here. Okay, it's March 24th, 2021. Curry County, Oregon Board of Commissioners workshop meeting is 2 o'clock. Welcome, everyone. Our first item on the agenda is, I got the wrong agenda. Here we go. Any amendments or additions to the agenda?
No.
Mr. Herzog?
Nope.
You're okay?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Aye.
Yes.
Yes, thanks. So fire district coordination, Commissioner Pash, we've been waiting on this a long time, huh?
Well, as some of you may know, I am elected also on the Wedderburn Fire District, and along with our chair, Karen, here. We have started some discussions with Tyson about some hopes that he sees in the future of the fire districts for the Curry County. So I basically want to turn it over to you guys and just start this communication. That's what we had hoped to do, was to just have a workshop and start to talk about this, how we can improve each other's service to the other districts, and if we can consolidate some of those services or districts, and how best to look at doing that. So Tyson, I started the conversation, or we started that conversation in our last board meeting with the Wedderburn Fire District. So if you'd like to maybe step up and open this up a little bit, and then we can just kind of let it go from there.
And each person comes up, adjust the mic if you would, and you're welcome to take your mask off as you speak.
Okay, you guys hear me all right?
Sure.
All right, so I'll just start. I made some notes, so I made sure I kept on track with this a little bit, but I just want to clarify how this whole thing came about. About 3 years ago, I was approached by a couple of different people in different groups that wanted to know why we had so many different fire districts in the county specifically. They wanted to go to one at one point, and I just didn't feel that that was applicable. I didn't think that that was going to work. However, I thought always that we could probably get away with 3. Conversation kept coming up. I tried to avoid it. I tried to avoid the conversation because my fear from the start of this, being I'm from Gold Beach, and we have multiple smaller departments that are around us that we work with regularly. I did not want to put it out there that the Gold Beach Fire Department was trying to take over these other departments. I joined the Ophir Fire Department when I was 14. I'll turn 45 this year, so I've had a couple years in this, and I know what it's like when you're on those smaller departments, and that the pride and the integrity that you have. But I also know that it takes a lot of dollars, takes a lot of man hours, a lot of equipment. And in today's environment, that is something that is becoming more and more hard to find. I'm lucky in Gold Beach. I have a problem that is a good problem to have. I have a lot of people that I have to wait till they get old enough to be able to drive a fire engine because they're too young. That's not the case everywhere else. So what I did is I tried to accurately look at why consolidation could possibly work for us in the county, or primarily initially in Central. The consolidation works because you're able to pool your resources. We do have some auto aid agreements now, but it's different. I can't, if I decide Ophir needs to have a little emergency vehicle to go on emergency calls, I cannot take city funds and I cannot buy that for them. It doesn't work that way. If we're able to get together and pool our resources and put the parts and pieces where they need to be, use the finances where they need to be, we're going to be a lot better off and better able to serve our community as than we are now. So there's kind of 2 different ways that you can do a consolidation that we've talked about in the past. For years, in fact, forever, Wedderburn has contracted fire service through the city of Gold Beach. That is a possible way for these other smaller departments to do that, but there's a couple issues to that, and one of those issues is the fact that you don't get away from any of your extra districts. You still have the same amount of districts. then also I'm going to have to figure out how to have conversations with all these different boards of directors and try to get them all on the same page. And I don't think that's likely. So, in my opinion, if this was to move forward, after the other chiefs have been talked to more about this and you know, everybody's on the same page, the best way to do that would be to do redistricting. And you'd redistrict basically in this fashion here that Summer has up for us. Those are basic lines, and I do have a legal description on the back of one of these papers that I'm sure you guys would just love to see. But it's township range and section. We just pulled it up yesterday. I hand scratched it until I get to a further meeting. But for the most part, that northern black line on there would be milepost 311. Approximately, it'd be just a little past that, because that goes to the next township range and section block, which would be block 7. Travels approximately 26 miles to the east, and the only reason we're doing that is to encompass Agnes. It was very important to me once this came up, and the last time I talked to Chair Boyce about it, is that I felt that we needed to do something for Agnes too, because we spend a lot of time there when we have these catastrophic fires in our area. It's the first one to get hit. That was important to us. The southern border would be basically our agreed upon border right now between Gold Beach and Brookings as far as our JAWS response, and that is Huskaneden. Again, that line would travel 26 miles to the east, and obviously we're gonna not be in Joe County, so that backside would be a little crooked. But what that does is that gets rid of also all of the unprotected lands. So the problem we have with unprotected lands now is originally all the fire districts were based off the school districts, and it didn't cover all the ground. So as the areas have developed over many, many decades, we have a lot of houses that are not in any fire district whatsoever. They're unprotected. Now, there's two things that can go wrong there, two issues that we have. If that house catches on fire, there is no fire department in this county that's not going to go to that call. There's also no citizen in that city that pays for that equipment that doesn't have a legitimate complaint that their resources, their money is being used to fight fire in places that are not paying a penny. Okay, so this takes care of the unprotected lands issue. We would be servicing no more residents than we are now. We would be the exact same amount, because all of the forest lands is going to fall under Coos Forest Patrol and the Forest Service as it does now. So we wouldn't be biting off anymore, but it would enable us to also collect some tax dollars from those people that are in those unprotected lands that are currently not paying for fire service at all. In the case of Agnes, where Agnes does have a special district to have a fire department, they do not have a tax base, and that would need to change also. They've been living up there for years on donations and stake feeds, and that does not give them what they need in today's environment with today's expenses, today's requirements, to be able to fund all those things with PPE, your equipment, regular upkeep of your engines, the equipment on your engines, hose, nozzles, a coat. You go to buy an NFPA compliant coat these days. Coat and pants, $3,500, $2,800 to $3,500. You get 10 years from the date of manufacture. Your guy doesn't put it on for 3 years. Now you got 7. Okay, it's not a, well, we'll just wear it till it doesn't look like it's good anymore. It doesn't work that way. This would give us an opportunity to be able to determine who needed that gear and who didn't need that gear, get it to the people that did, so they're able to do the job that they're supposed to be doing. Also with grant funding, I don't have the exact numbers right now, and it was really hard for me to get, again, because these districts are so irregularly shaped. But what I do know is that we're 25 to 35 actual square miles combined in these districts right now. You throw that block out there and it's about 526 square miles, okay? So when you start filling out grant applications and you're putting numbers in there for total structures, total square mileage that you're covering, and total population, you go higher in the pot, okay? You're able to get further because they can see that there is going to be more need in your area, and the money that they're giving you is going to go further for a larger group of people in a larger area. So in a nutshell, that's my opinion of it. I do support the concept, but again, like I said before, I want to be very careful and very respectful for the other chiefs that are in our area. I have to deal with them on a daily basis. I have to work with them. We have to work together. We have to get along. So I think that in some cases I have talked to 2 of the other chiefs. I've talked to Adam Broughton, which that's kind of a cheat for me because he's my brother-in-law. And I talked to Bill Sherbarth from Agnes because of the different nature of how Agnes would be consolidated in, and the fact that it still would be a little bit different than the other departments because it is so far out. The response plan would be completely different. But we do have other chiefs that we need to talk to from Cedar Valley and from Pistol River, and they need to be able to weigh in on it, the pros and cons, what they think will work for them. Did you guys get the question or the paper that I think that's it.
Yeah,
I'm not going to go into all the details on those questions and answers on there, but those were some of the ones that I would have questions on if I was a chief on a smaller department. How do I know I'm going to get my fair share? How do I know that my department, my people here that I deal with right now are going to be taken care of? What's going to happen to them? Are you going to change a bunch of things? There's a lot of different ways to answer those, but I tried to answer those as accurately as possible and as unfiltered as possible without being overly blunt or just passing off as a non-issue. So you guys can look through those. If you have any questions on those or like me to elaborate on any of that, I certainly can. A couple things that I'd like to add to it too, and part of the reason I had Sergeant Aranda here today and Derwin Boggs from Coosa Forest Patrol is the interaction that we have with those people on a nearly a daily basis, definitely with the sheriff's office. This would simplify some things too, because right now, and she can elaborate on this, what they have to do to determine who's supposed to go where and when and why. And sometimes that's tough. It's really tough. And then the person that you just got trained transfers to somewhere else. Now you get to start all over again. So that makes things a little bit more complicated too. And with Derwin, we have a fantastic arrangement with them already, and we work with them well. But I think that this would help in their court as well as far as getting rid of some of those unprotected lands. And so,
Do you see any pushback from anyone to getting all the chiefs together and just starting the conversation?
You can take your mask off.
It's all right.
Okay.
It just keeps slipping down.
I mean, that'd be the biggest hurdle for me, I think, is like you said, we're not here to step on anyone's toes.
Yeah,
We're trying to work together better, more efficiently. So do you see any possible pushback on that?
It's hard to say. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I've never had a conversation even close to this with them. I mean, we have our auto aid agreements, but in our auto aid agreements, they are still independent.
Right.
Okay. And those stations will still stay there. Their numbers will even stay the same. And their rank and structure inside that would stay the same. But what typically would happen is in a satellite department, their chief would then become a battalion chief. He still runs that station. Okay. We wouldn't even have to renumber the trucks, which would be, that costs money too. We don't have to do that. I don't know if there'd be pushback or not, and I wouldn't want to try to assume what one of my comrades is going to say to this. If it was me, having been in as long as I have now, and I was in some of these smaller departments, I see how they're struggling. I see that they don't have money. They can't get the things that they need all the time. To me, it would be a burden lifted off my shoulders. However, I'm in a completely different position than them. So again, I don't really want to answer for them, but I'm willing to have the conversation with them. Again, I didn't want to be the guy that brought it up, because I don't want it to look like I'm trying to take over the fire world in the center of Curry County, because that's not what we're doing. We're just trying to make it better for the long term, because the long term's coming. It's coming every day. So we just need to plan that.
So for the next step, I mean, from where I'm sitting, the next step would be to hopefully get those chiefs all in one room and start to talk about this. And I'm just wondering, can we be part of helping set that up, or how?
I think you could be part of it for sure, and I have no issues with that at all. However, I wouldn't want to do it in this particular environment.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, it would be. I think that'd be putting them on the spot. I think that if we did it in a private setting, or not necessarily a private setting, but not a televised setting, not so formal, I think that they would feel a lot freer to say what they wanted to say, ask the hard questions, get the hard answers, or get the easy answers, depending on what it is. Okay. It doesn't have to be complicated, but it could be it could be a conversation that was heated at times, or maybe not at all. They might just roll right with it. I have no idea.
Okay.
Chief Krieger, do me a favor and introduce the people you have in the audience that are here to support you. I did want to recognize Knox with the Curry Coastal Pilot. Thank you. I can't remember your last name, but cool first name.
Thank you. It's Karen.
Thank you. And then out in the hallway, I walked right by Karen Kennedy with a mask on. I didn't recognize her, you know, but she also serves on the Curry Health Network Board. In fact, you're chair now.
No, not a Curry. I am of the Gold Beach Weatherburn Rural Fire Protection District.
Good. So thank you for your community service there. So you want to?
Yeah, and
I'm
Karen and
dying.
we have had some conversations about this, and from her other work as a real estate agent, this has some good merit there too, because then it gets rid of the unprotected lands. So when somebody purchases a home here and they decide, oh, I'm going to go get fire insurance, the first thing your insurance agent's going to want to know is, what's your ISO rating, and are you covered? Do you have coverage?
I went through that.
Okay, yeah. So if there are literally places on Hunter Creek Heights where a person on one side of the road is in the city of Gold Beach and they're covered by fire, and they can get fire insurance at a ISO rating of 5. Okay. The person exactly on the opposite side of the road, 75 feet away, is outside the city of Gold Beach. He's in unprotected lands, and he's a 10 because he's unprotected. The hydrant could be across the street from his house. It makes no difference because he's outside of the district. And this eliminates that problem here. And if this concept works, you got two other ends of the county. Run to the state line, run it to the county line, and get rid of the unprotected lands. Let's stop playing around with it. We've been doing it for 30 some years now, you know, that I've seen it, and it's just not necessary.
So introduce the rest of your people, if you would.
Yeah. And then Durham Boggs, unit forester for Coos Forest Patrol here in Gold Beach. Again, we work hand in hand with those guys for a lot of months, sometimes too many months during the summer.
And he's been here how many years? Let's see. I got to highlight that a little bit.
Couple, 3.
Yeah.
And then Sergeant Aranda, she is our dispatch sergeant here. The reason I wanted her here is if she was able to express how this would benefit or simplify or streamline the dispatch process for Central Fire, which again, in their particular case, would also work again in North County if this concept was to move forward, and it worked because they also dispatch North County. So
Who else?
that's who I have today. And Summer has helped me with information, but I don't think, are you saying anything today?
That's up to you guys.
We'll probably be calling on her.
Okay.
So Commissioner Herzog?
You guys have any more questions?
You handed me this a couple of years ago, so I've been waiting a long time to have this meeting. Thank you, Commissioner Pash. Everything about it seems practical, a little bit of logic. You know, I've followed your career over the years. I've followed Derwin's over the years, and you mentioned Agnes. I mean, they're at a higher risk just about than any other place we have in the county, in my opinion. We coincidentally had Oregon Department of Forestry did a Good Neighbor Authority presentation day, went really well. Ryan Greco and Grant Smith, and you know, they're just an incredible partner, and I know you're quite familiar with them, and of course they are part of the whole 9 forest protective associations that we're very proud of in Oregon. They are fierce responders to fire and quick on suppression, which means a lot to us in Curry County, of course, with the terrain we have here. So I really picked up, you're in the office yesterday too, you know, how this can save money. I think that's going to be one of our biggest tasks, is to let the public know how this can really be a savings. Anytime you have a savings, then you're operating more efficiently. And as you well know, if you're operating more efficiently, you are keeping the danger levels down and the risk to the county. Shows better organization. I mean, we could both go on and on with what we've learned over the years, especially you. You know, and this is a start. Like I said, I've been waiting a long time to have this meeting. I can't really, you know, as far as we just have to, as far as other people or chiefs in some of the smaller areas having something that they might be adverse to. You know, I know most of those people, and they just want to do the job more than anything. They're not political. They're not not into leveraging. They're into recruiting, which is very tough, as you well know. Brookings is short right now, firefighters. Port Orford's spread pretty thin. So you upgraded this that you gave me a couple years ago, which I think is really well done. You've obviously spent a lot of time in it. The Economic Development Coordinator Madison has spent a lot of time on this. And it is a very good start. And again, I think it's filled with logic. So the next step, sooner the better. You know, fire season is less than 4 months away.
Yep.
And the more awareness we can do, the better we are to our citizens. So, Commissioner Pash?
Well, I just want to say this was just a conversation that started at one of our board meetings with the Wedderburn Fire District, and I just wanted to facilitate a room to get this conversation started. So I don't have a lot of planning involved in this. I will say though that, you know, things like this can really help the community, and I hope the community understands how much this can, as you just stated, you know, in one area you're under the Gold Beach umbrella and across the street you're not. And these kind of things, I think if a lot of the public understands the benefits that they'll gain from that as well, they'll appreciate that. But again, I made a comment a while ago about can we be involved. What I meant by that was be involved in helping to facilitate getting the people together.
For sure.
I don't want to be involved in the conversations that you have with other chiefs in this county on how you can do that. That's not my job. As far as it's not my expertise. You know what it's going to take. The chiefs in this county will know what it's going to take to form those partnerships and those bonds between each other if there is a redistricting of the fires of the districts.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to say if I can help get somebody in the room for you that you need, that's what I want to be the part of. I don't want to be the part of the conversation to make this happen. That's for the fire chiefs in this county to decide, not me.
Very good. Yes.
You want to call some of your associates up? I'd be very disappointed if
Wants to say
Director
what?
Boggs didn't have something to say here. And,
All right.
yes.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I think Mr. Tylock wanted
It,
some comments too.
Mr. Krieger, we might want you to come back. So, welcome.
Sergeant
Thanks for
Arano with
attending
Curry County
today.
Sheriff's Office, dispatch supervisor. So
You
with
can
the
take your
auto,
mask off if you like. It's not a problem.
okay, with the auto aid agreement that they have, the central fire departments, we already have the capability to do all of the paging that's necessary for this proposed district. So that's good because we wouldn't have to do any kind of maintenance.
I didn't quite get that. You have all the what capacity to
We have the ability to page them all at the same time.
Okay.
Because that's how it's set up now in accordance with their auto aid agreement they have among the central fire districts. So also I want to thank Tyson for bringing dispatch into this conversation at the beginning. That's not always considered. So yeah, I am in agreement with it. I think it would be easier for everybody involved from what it sounds like to me. And yeah, I'm on board.
Great, thank you.
Thanks. You gonna hang around in case we have additional questions? Yes, sir. Come on up.
Hoorah.
I'm going to take this mask off. I've recently gone through some throat cancer operations, and I've probably got somewhere around 40 years of firefighting experience with county, city, and some federal, and have a degree in fire science, which doesn't mean anything because I did the job before I got the education into it. And I'm real familiar with this consolidation because I got my start working for the county fire department, and we covered the entire county, Merced, which is much larger than Curry County. And we had 23 outstations in the county, and they were manned 24/7. And basically, they had two-man outstations, mainly in each little town, city, and some of the larger cities there. It worked quite well, and it was very economical because the equipment and savings alone was enough to where the cost of manning them 24/7 was pretty insignificant. They had their equipment built to their own specifications, and each of those 23 stations, they had Class A pumpers in it, and they had tenders in them. Plus, the larger ones, they had their own equipment, and it was based similar to what they have here, where there were all the firefighters. They had a single paid engineer, and the rest of them were composed of volunteers. And the larger cities were the same thing. They had their own fire chiefs, their own equipment, and then they would also man out of the city and in the city. They would man their own equipment, and they had their own volunteers. So they had their own system, both in and around whatever occurred and whatever type of a situation occurred. And it's just like it is here. They responded to everything. And of course, when I was with the county, well, we had our separate thing. I happened to be on the county dive team, so we were involved in retrieving anything that drowned in rivers, lakes, and streams. Clean up in the Yosemite National Park, in the Merced River and the lake, river, or puddle that we might get called to retrieve everything and anything. I'm real familiar with the fact that a consolidation, it's going to be a little bit more difficult, because what you're doing is little small operations here and there. Now you want to bring them all together. Well, they start out doing that all at one time. And as far as I know, it's still going that way. And it's a much larger populated area than we have here even. And probably the whole population of Merced alone, the city, is much larger than our whole county here. Area-wise, I don't know, it's probably about 3 or 4 times bigger than Curry. So it's doable, and it makes a lot of sense to do it. This isn't a fairy tale. One time, they used to have chief meetings in this county, and they would vote in each year the chief that would run it. A lot of things got done. And we had a real cooperative bunch of firefighters and chiefs here. We, at one time in South County, we had training to where we had the federal forester and cruise fire protection and all the little fire departments. We all trained together, and we were all certified to go do wildland firefighting. We had our own strike crews to where when we had the big biscuit fire, we all pooled together, and 2 or 3 people would jump on a fire truck and go get a couple more, and took a Class A fire truck for Brookings. And when we had an arson guy running around setting up fires while everybody's fighting the big fire, we were guarding property out of our district. I don't know what happened to that, but we don't have the same cooperation anymore. I think if we're going to survive, we got to go back to that again. Right now, South County's losing their departments, period. We don't have the funding anymore. We don't have the manpower anymore. The only thing we can do is contract to the bigger ones. Right now, that's Brookings. We've lost Upper Chetco. Winchuck is shaky. Cape Willow is shaky. And I'm going to tell you something. When they go down and Brookings says, no, we don't want to do this anymore, we're not going to have fire insurance. Try and buy a house. You think it's hard to buy a house now because there aren't any? If you don't have insurance, you're not going to buy anything, not even a tent, a pump tent. So it's something to think about. We're going to have to do something, or this is going to be a desert here. You're not going to survive without fire departments.
Couldn't agree more. Are you still on the Cape Frillo board?
It's time to get serious to figure out what you're going to do, because it's not going to be too long before nothing's going to happen. I've been asking a couple of you, not really begging, but hey, come on down and go to one of their meetings and see what's happening. It's not good. I've been sitting in Cape Frillo, and they're struggling so bad, I don't even recognize anymore. I was assistant chief there for a while, and safety issues and politics, I just couldn't handle it anymore. so I retired.
Well,
Now it's time for somebody to figure out how to get this thing back on its feet again and go do it. I'm in law enforcement, so I'm not going to be spokesman for fire or anything.
well, we're really glad to have you here, and
I'll help, but
I got a concern. I haven't got any emails from you lately.
pardon me?
I haven't got any emails from you lately.
I've been having, I can't speak, and
I was wondering how you were doing. Glad you're upright and
Oh.
and improving.
that was not a problem.
Okay.
It's all crowded down below there. I can't get in. There's standing room only up here. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Clerk Colin, did you have something?
I do.
Dick, good to see you, my friend.
I apologize, I didn't hear the beginning of this meeting, but I'm hearing consolidation, I'm hearing boundaries, I'm hearing districts, so I just wanted to make sure that we all were on the same page. If there's going to be a change of the boundaries in existence of our fire districts, that's election stuff, that's consolidation, that's merger, so there's a whole nother avenue of information that.
Right here.
Okay, so I didn't hear anything about election, I didn't hear about district changes or consolidating versus merging, and so I just wanted to make sure that we didn't leave that
there's-
out. And,
Four different ORSs here.
okay, great.
One. Oh, yeah, I think I got this. Thank you.
I just printed these.
Clerk Colin, thank you. Director Boggs? I always call you director. I hope that's okay. No? Come on up. And then also we have Planning Director Crockett has joined us, so we'd like to have you weigh in if you can. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. I don't have a lot to say because Tyson pretty much summed everything up.
Take your mask off.
Huh?
Take your mask off if you like.
Yep. I'm sweating under here terribly. It's hot in here. So Tyson talked about most of the stuff that him and I have talked about in the last couple of years, and I think Commissioner Boyce, we talked about it at one time too. You know, we cover, Coos Forest Patrol covers from the Coquille River to the California borders. We have a pretty good sized area that we cover out of our unit, which is covers Bandon, Gold Beach, and Brookings. With the departments that are consolidating what we're talking about now, it won't change our relationship with the fire departments, but it'll change our relationship with the public, the way we respond to fires. And some houses, excuse me, some houses are so far out and not protected that by the time we get there, we don't fight structure fires. We don't have anything to do with those. So normally when the bell goes off, we're all on our way there anyways, and that relationship will continue. But I think as far as the dispatch procedures will go, it'll help out quite a bit with one call, and we can all be headed that direction instead of 6 different departments for an auto aid. But we're wildland guys, but we're always there. And there are some checkerboard areas in the district, our district and our unit, that doesn't have any coverage. But sometimes it's confusing which department needs to go that direction. And we feel for some of the dispatchers are trying to get them headed that way because, you know, it's hard to determine where the boundaries are and which district is where. And sometimes I don't even know. I've been here for almost 31 years, and I still don't know where they're all at. So I don't have anything else to add other than I hope it works out. It's a good idea.
Thank you, sir.
Great to see you too. Thank you. Chief Krieger, anyone else do you want to encourage? No?
Oh, Becky.
Come on up. Welcome, Director Crockett. Pull that microphone down there a little bit.
Thank you. I'm Becky Crockett, Curry County Planning Director. The Planning Department works with all of the fire districts throughout the county. In Curry County, you're not allowed to build a structure or even expand a structure unless you get a sign-off from the fire district that you're in. For those structures that are outside a fire district, the county actually requires certain fire safety provisions for that structure. And we do get a lot of pushback on those requirements. The important factor here is in working with all of the fire districts throughout the county, we readily see the inconsistency in how involved each fire district gets in reviewing a potential application for a structure. Some fire districts have fairly strict standards, and they make sure that they check the properties before they'll sign off on the planning clearance. Some fire districts just sign off and don't even really know where the house is that's being proposed to be built. So we see that inconsistency. The reason that this is so crucial in terms of development in Curry County is we do have some legislation that's coming down, And there's a couple of pieces of legislation that was proposed out of the governor's office before the pandemic hit. And essentially that legislation, which is still actively being discussed, would in fact require stricter fire standards for any structure outside of urban growth boundaries in the rural areas. In addition to that, we have Senate Bill 391, which is a really important piece of legislation that all of the planning directors are following, because what Senate Bill 391 does is it allows accessory dwelling units outside the urban growth boundary on rural lands. But the requirement to allow that is that those structures are protected either in a fire district, and that fire district has to apply certain standards. So if we have fire districts that are not applying standards currently, we need some mechanism to get them to step up to their responsibility. Otherwise, the county's not going to be able to approve ADOs outside of the urban growth boundaries. So my point here today is just to recognize that consolidation probably is the future. And without consolidation, it's questionable whether some of these fire districts are going to be able to get up to speed and be able to apply the standards, just because they don't have the personnel to go out and look and make sure the fire truck can get up some of these small driveways, and that some of these structures do have backup fire protection, which is one of the requirements that's coming out of the legislation. So with that, it's my 2 cents.
Wait, questions, board?
Thanks, Becky.
I'm gonna go watch the video so I can hear that again. That really good information. Thank you. No questions.
Okay.
Did we leave anyone out? Coordinator Madison?
I'll go.
Okay, please.
Just so we come full circle. Okay, who has my papers? Tyson?
You got to keep him in line.
Do I have them? Maybe I don't have anything to say. Well, I'll just. Okay. 3 ordinances, state ORSs are cited in the documentation that I've submitted that discuss the process for consolidation of districts. And I understand, and we've discussed a goal of November for both of the items that we're workshopping today. And I believe that gives us enough time to be transparent and hold the town halls that we've discussed having, and making sure that we're transparent in what resources are more efficient in the process of doing this. We have 3 fire districts in North County. We have currently 6 fire districts in Central County. We have 5 in South County. With the filing for positions in the special districts this past month, I was a little panicked to pull up so many of the districts that were vacant in their positions. Oh yeah, that was from earlier. Thank you, because I do need that. Yeah, thanks. I need you all to sign this letter before the end of today. So where was I? Fire districts. Thanks. Yes, yeah. So I was kind of in a panic. I saw all these vacancies and so many positions that nobody had filed for. And, you know, that may be because we have so many districts, and each district requires so many people to fill vacancies on the board. And so in moving this forward to November, if that's the consensus, I would hope that that's one of the challenges we could work to eliminate. I also anticipate this being the first of many consolidations we might consider. I think fire, specifically to Central Curry, makes the most sense. I want to remind everybody that fires don't respect district boundaries. They don't care. They don't care if your house is in a fire district or not. And nobody really thinks that's important until their house catches fire. You know, and so I think being the leaders in this movement of efficiency and responsibility is going to help all of us. What districts were and founded on 30 to 40 years ago are not what they are now. We have technology on our side. Transportation's better than it was 30, 40 years ago. When you look at consolidations, you're more efficient with resources and where your type 1s are and how many people should be on those versus, you know, your type 4s and where they should be strategically placed, because we're all working together now. And so we know if it's easier to get that jaws of life, you know, headed south versus north, 10 minutes is a big deal. And when we're also talking about consolidation, it's a whole lot easier to get equipment recertified and inspected when you're covering the service of 6 fire districts versus 1, and then next month's the next month's the next. Oh, I talked to the South County Harbor Fire chief a couple of weeks ago and said, so do you guys like all coordinate countywide? Like, okay, like the, you know, the fairs do, they go from one city, then they have a schedule. They don't do that here. And so it's the same fee every time for every different district, which would not be the case if, I mean, ultimately, not gonna lie, I would love to see 3 districts. But I know it's a pipe dream, but here we go.
No, not a pipe dream. Might be a goal, though.
I think we
Or
can get
series
there
of goals?
if we want to. And I think the more transparent and communicative we are with the taxpayers, I think they'll engage in the conversation.
Clerk Colin, before you go, Ms. Madison, you mentioned referenced November a couple of times. November election, I assume.
Mm-hmm.
And so the deadline is middle of August, I think, is that correct? Clerk Colin?
So yes, this is my concern. I'm hearing transparency, and our office hasn't been contacted at all about any of this. And this is a huge election process with massive deadlines. And I hate that we have groups going out in this wonderful, compassionate way to have something accomplished and come to find out, oops, that's not going to happen because we weren't talking with the elections office and what the deadline the process is. So again, I'm going to strongly suggest that the groups that are working on this give the elections office a call so that we can talk to them about the process, what elections are available. This is the last time we did consolidations, we had attorneys on both sides to just do a small consolidation. So this is a huge feat, and our job is to make sure that nothing gets hung up and we can make it as easy as possible. But if we're not in the loop, we can't help. So please have your folks give us a call, who's ever orchestrating this. I think Chris, you said, Commissioner Pash, you said that you wanted to get this moving forward. Please just give us a call and put us in the loop so we can help.
Clerk Colin, of all the discussions I've had the last 2.5 years or so, it's always been under the concept of if we can just get to first base, we know then it's got to go before the voters.
November is
so.
a huge ask, a huge.
I understand.
I can't imagine how I'm hearing many districts. I'm hearing many consolidations, many possible mergers, whether you have to dissolve. It's a huge petition process, and so these petitions are filed with the clerk. And so again, I just would really, especially right now, we're busy. We don't have a lot of resources. We're in the middle of a special district election. Like I heard, there's quite a few districts that didn't file for this coming up election. Well, depending on when you looked on our register, that's what we do, is we try to call the districts and help them, hey, remember there's a deadline. They went, oh, we got a deadline, thank you for that. So we have quite a few filings right now. I believe we have 104. That's a lot of districts that we're helping to get their needs met so they can get on the ballot. So please just contact us early on and not at the last minute. Thanks.
Thank you again. Commissioner Pash?
Again, we're just trying to start a conversation. We didn't come up with any dates on when it should be on a ballot yet or anything. This is just to start a conversation and let, Chief Krager and any of the other chiefs in the county know, I want to help you all I can. If there's something I can do from my office to help push this along and make it work for the betterment of this community, let me know and I will do it. Give me work to do. Give me something to do and I will do it, okay? And if it ends up on a ballot in November or next year or the year after, whenever, I know it's going to take time. But I just wanted to open the door to a conversation that we can get it started.
I believe this is the first step. She's saying that she needs to be involved at the beginning. I think this is the beginning. This is the first conversation about it. Our first opportunity, if it was able, would be in November. I'm not sure we could have given that information any sooner because we just discussed it yesterday. So it's about as close to the front as we can get. I think it's a good idea. Like you said, if it doesn't make it through in November, you got the next one you're going to look at. The problem's not going to go away. It's only going to become more obvious, more visible to the public, visible to the fire departments as they continue to try to struggle. We'll jump through the hoops that we need to, get the information we need to, have the meetings we need to with the fire chiefs, the departments, the board of directors, the citizens themselves. And again, if we hit November, that's fantastic. If we can't hit November, if it's not able to be done because it's a special districts election year, then that's fine. You push on to the next one. The problem's not going away. It's not going to fix itself. So it's going to take a lot of people to get it done.
Let me know what I can do to help, sir.
Yep.
Anyone else? Karen Kennedy? Yeah.
I see it on a couple of different areas, like Tyson was saying, the real estate. We see it more frequently than I would think, that we end up with people that are buying a house that's not in a fire district, that they have to either get a contract. I just had one that I didn't even realize, and I didn't find out until after they were in the house, that they were a cash buyer, that they did not have a fire district that they were in. So I think that's a big, huge part for us as realtors and homeowners, is to get that coverage. I think that's huge. And then just being on a board, I know it's very, very hard to fill our positions and to have so many fire districts. And we don't have the time and resources. Our boards don't seem to have the time and resources to meet regularly and enough to have what I would consider well-qualified boards to lead our fire districts. So I'd like to have that, to see that consolidation come in for those aspects as well.
So we'll get to work, huh?
All right.
Thank you very much. Last call.
Thank you, Chair, for hearing that workshop.
Of course, thank you. And a good turnout and lots of, whoop.
3 minutes ahead of schedule.
Yeah.
No, it was only for 45 minutes.
No, 1 hour.
Christmas miracle.
I know what I budgeted.
So great turnout and lots of
Thanks, guys.
dedication. Much appreciated, all of you. And I made a mistake. Fire season is 3 months, not 4 months. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks again, everyone.
Thank you.
Director Rickert, Parks and Recreation Special District. You're up next.
So I was contacted a few weeks ago about the possibility of having the commissioner sign off on a Parks and Recreation District for South County. As I kind of looked into it, it sounded like there were a lot of different facets to it. So we have this workshop scheduled, and I think we have, as you see, several people coming in, just so we can have an open discussion about the possibility of the formation of a South County Parks and Rec District, as well as discussion on possible other options. So that's really the extent of my involvement in this at this point. So turn it over to you and whoever else.
Well, thank you. And in the audience, we just had an arrival, Janelle Howard, Brookings City Administrator, and Jay Trost, Brookings City Parks Director. Who's first here? Welcome,
laughed.
both of you. Welcome.
I don't think that was his title, but he laughed at it. So.
No, it's good.
Oh, it is a good title.
You didn't know.
Did I have that? No, of course I got it right.
Hey, I go by anything nowadays. Better?
Hey, Jay.
Good. Can I take this off?
Sure.
Yes, you can.
Okay, so thanks for that intro, Mr. Ruckert. I appreciate it. Dr. Layton will be here shortly. She's the co-chair on the Brookings Rec Center Task Force and chair of the Friends of the Aquatic Center, which is a nonprofit that's been working on this project for many, many years. About 10, actually, is how long this project has been in the works. And so the group came to the conclusion is like, if this is going to happen, we need to explore the options of a rec district. We have secured the YMCA. They've done a feasibility study that identified that if this complex is built as a whole, it will be self-sustaining the rec center itself. I brought some renderings for you guys to take a look at real quick. So this is Bud Cross Park in Brookings. So part of the process here is that the city.
We're
Jay,
probably
would you
going to need
hold
to.
that microphone in your hand as
Oh,
you talk.
sure.
Do you want me to put it up on the big screen, Jay? Any of these?
If you, I don't know,
Try.
I don't know how to
We're
do
no
that,
hurry.
but, so if the rec district was formed, the city would hand Bud Cross over to this rec district to provide this facility. So as you see, this is Bud Cross, the corner of Ransom and 3rd. Right now, how the existing park looks is the pool is right here. There's a parking lot, tennis courts, baseball field, and gravel parking. This would be the reconstructed view. You would have the rec center located where the current pool is, utilizing the current infrastructure of the pool, building around it, putting in new parking, moving the basketball courts over, and the tennis courts would then move down to this area. Here's a look at it in more of a 3D perspective, kind of looking from the southeast, right? So parking, rec center building, basketball courts, baseball. This is the skate park. Tennis courts would be located on the far side. This is not a small project. These are the architectural renderings of what the building would look like after it was completed. And so as you can see, I mean, it's quite the center. Serves so many different purposes. To have a year-round pool, obviously, we know that we have citizenry that is elevated in age. Having a heated pool
That was very nice.
for therapy
Yeah, I was trying to
purposes.
say, he's really.
Elevated.
Yes.
I'm shrinking.
I'm going to
I don't
remember
know.
that one. Way to go, Trost.
We'll provide a tremendous asset to the community, let alone just the rec center opportunity for having different types of events held there, and so
Could you hold that up to the main screen? I think it's going to have a little better light there. Just hold it right up to the main screen.
up here
Yeah.
like this.
Now let's see if we can get a camera.
Is that what you're
on.
asking for?
Yeah, that's good.
Well, the camera here, he's got this camera on that.
It's
Okay.
coming. I didn't know if it might be a possible option. Eric?
They can see it now.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, it's not a big improvement, but thanks for trying there. That's just
Yeah.
much better lighting.
Yeah. This is the so this is how the layout would look. We'd have our existing 6-lane pool. Pool storage spa would be built onto the side. A community exercise room, locker rooms, a child center, the gymnasium, the reception and entry would be on this end. This is the lower floor, and then the upper floor would have an elevated track that goes around the gym. And then you'd have your wellness center, lifting weights, etc. And then a lot of the mechanical areas and another restroom. And so, as I said, this has been an extremely long process. I entered into this mix about 2018. Here, I'll leave that one up. Kind of gives a better view. And so we are now in the process of exploring the opportunity of creating a South Curry County Park and Rec District. The boundaries would be the same as the port and library boundaries, so Pistol River-ish to the border. We would be right now. We're in the middle of doing a feasibility study on the budget, so that we can identify an appropriate permanent tax rate. we understand that once that is built, that would require a bond, right, to build. We would need a permanent tax rate to run the park as it sits, right? And so, in the midst of looking at that, we're talking, the range that we're looking isn't great. Anywhere between 20 to 35 cents on the thousand is what we would be looking at. That's what we're exploring right now. And part of the reason why we reached out to the county was because we have two options. We can go out for signatures and collect our signatures, get them in by May 6th, and put it to the voters, or we can, or this commission can put it directly to on the ballot. Our attorney gave us those two options, and so we thought we would explore those as options to see where the county commission felt about this. However, the timelines may not all match up, so we may be going out for our signature collection anyways. As I understand it, if this body was to put it forth, it would need a 60-day comment period, which would exceed our May 6th, or be very close to our May 6th deadline. So right now we don't have the exact numbers on that, and Dr. Layton might when she arrives. She had to leave the clinic a little bit late, so she'll be here shortly. But that's kind of, the nuts and bolts of where we are. There's obviously a lot of detail and a lot of work that has gone into this. We currently have a team that's working on all of the logistics, and we have another team that's working on the marketing aspect of moving this forward.
He's here.
Oh, great. Dr. Layton.
Sneak in privately.
Come on in.
Sorry for my tardiness.
Yes, come on in. So, Dr. Layton.
Perfect timing.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. Just trying to get out of clinic in time, and it's.
So I will give you a quick brief. We discussed a little bit about where we are with the task force, the option of the commissioners putting this directly on the ballot, and the timelines that may or may not fit with that, our signature collection process, the boundaries, and I walk them through the actual project.
So I didn't need to be here anyway.
Yes, you do, because you have a you can answer all the tough questions.
We love photos.
So this is big, and I know that taxing districts in the county are a hot topic, but this is one of those that this is a legacy project, right? This is something that will be here to stay, to stand, and provide very important access to so many different citizens, from young to elevated in age. So, go ahead.
I'm not sure what I can add to that.
Well, we also have Administrator Howard here, so we can just, I have a couple questions if either one of you want to chime in there. First, thanks for making the trip up from Brookings.
Again, I apologize
Leaving
for
work
my
early,
delay.
that's hard for doctors. That's very hard. I guess first thing I'd ask is if you thought about coordinating, combining with a fire district. No, I'm kidding. So, Jay, good job, of course. That's one of the biggest projects Curry County's probably ever had. I'm just wondering, the hospital was gigantic, of course. And so, yeah, exciting for our kids, our I'm just going to say seniors, and certainly our veterans, and just citizens in general. And, I heard a long time ago that a lot of you are working on this, and I forgot that. And yet the work has been ongoing and consistent. And, you know, I think it's part of the whole Brookings mystique that we're pretty proud of. It's very proud of in this county and all of our cities. But you know, I mean, initially, I would do anything I could to help you avoid having to do the signature quest, you know, because ultimately it's up to the voters. And yet, if we can expedite that, you know, that would certainly be my preference and vote. And this, like you said, this is a legacy project. This is tremendous. And in a climate where it rains 85 inches a year, this is even more apropos for the needs and the growth of our county. It's great. Terrific. Commissioner Herzog?
Oh, I'm a huge proponent of this. Julianne and
We go back a few years.
we go back a few years. I've swam, I think I swam one time 2 hours straight and had people paying me to swim a lap. So, yeah, I want to see this, especially as more elevated I get. Swimming is such a good, yeah, I like elevated instead of old. So, yeah, I'm totally in favor of it. I know it's a tough sell because special districts is a bad word around, but I'm in favor of letting the getting the special district and letting the public decide, the voters decide yay or nay. It's just a little history. The pool was opened in the early 70s. I was a 15-year-old teenager, and I was a lifeguard there the first 2 years it was open. So we have a pool that is open 3 months a year, maybe 4 if we beg, borrow, and steal. And it's just sad. I know Clerk Colin has brought her kids down. I know Gold Beach people use this pool in the summer when it was you could drop your kids off and go to Fred Meyer or go shopping, and so it's a huge benefit when it's open. It's just not utilized. I'm about ready to jump the fence right now and put on my suit that I swam out.
Go for it, Mark Spitz.
It's pretty cold.
Commissioner Pash?
Well, I fully support a campus like this. I mean, I think it's something that's needed in our county. Anything we can do to keep our kids their minds busy and our seniors like Commissioner Herzog is, anything we can do to help them, we'll do. My fear of this is that we're looking at doing some other things as well. As we know, we have a plethora of special districts here, and the earlier workshop was to possibly consolidate some of the fire districts. My hope, of course, is to see our sheriff's department get permanently funded somehow, and that could be through a special district as well. But we're looking at the possibility of a new jail, a new complex for the sheriff's department, and I'm just afraid it's going to become a watered down thing in the county that we're going to look for a bond issue probably for something like this. And then we're going to ask the voters for a bond issue. We may get a lot of help with the state for a courthouse, but for a jail and sheriff's department and perhaps putting the whole complex under one roof, another bond issue for that. And then finding a way to fund our sheriff's department and have 24/7 protection here in this county could be done through a district as well. So, I mean, these are all issues that we're going to face, and I'm wondering how much that our voters can take of it. I'm just, and what the needs are in their order of preference. I've said publicly several times that I would never support another special district in Curry County unless it had a sunset clause to it. At least having that clause in 10 years or 15 years to go and look. As an example, for me, I think libraries now should be re-looked at, the tax rate that they get, and not that libraries are not imperative to a community. But we all know we can pick up our cell phone now and say whatever you want to say into that phone and get an answer worldwide in seconds to any question we have. We don't have to go to a library anymore and look it all up in the books. So I believe that districts need to be looked at, not dissolved, but looked at occasionally, and perhaps redefine their tax rates and redefine what their objectives are. So, you know, that's, as pretty much everyone on this board in this county knows, that I've been trying to push for that over the past few years. Something like this for our community, I would support 100% if it was done right. If we had a sunset clause that at least in 10 years, you know, hopefully this could turn out to be a positive cash flow for the county or the city or you know, its district, rather than having such a tax draw. Over time, it's going to be a way to create a whole new aspect for South County. So at least having it written into the district that you're going to look at that in 5 years or 10 years or 15 years, as opposed to special districts being written in perpetuity. You know, I can't see that going forward. So I guess I'm starting to talk into the weeds a little bit, but I want to say I would support this if it was done right. I'm just in fear that if we bring this to the taxpayers and in the next year we bring a new jail and a new courthouse, you know, these are forward-looking things to the taxpayers. They're going to say, well, where do we say yes and where do we say no? So that's my comments, sir.
Administrator Howard, did you want to add something?
No, thank you. I'm just here in case something bigger picture comes up. They definitely are the...
In case they fell down or something? Yeah. So, Commissioner Herzog, my oldest son in June is going to be 47. And I have a picture of him. It says infant athlete. But my former wife took him down 8 weeks in a row when he was 2 years old. And the picture is, he's just got his little bald head and he is underwater, face down, swimming, not a living soul around him for feet, at the Brookings pool.
Yeah.
So you helped me bring back that memory. And, you know, it's special. And to hear you were a lifeguard, I forgot that when you were 15. You were probably there when he was learning to swim.
Yeah.
There's a nurse that was helping too, to train him. I mean, he was, yeah, it was the summer of 75 and he was 2 years old. He was born in 73. So, wow, it's pretty neat. So I wish you the best and I hope we can help. I believe we can. And yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Brad.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay. I think the renderings look great, so thanks for bringing them in. I did have a couple questions. Did I hear you right when you said that the rec center was expected to be self-sustaining?
Yes, so the, you want to answer that?
Yeah, that's the intent. You know, we partnered and the concept plan was based on much community research. We had the Grants Pass YMCA CEO in at the time. He was able to leverage YMCA USA resources so that we could do a community survey. We were able to use that community survey to gauge where the community's perception was of the services that they were getting from a recreation and parks perspective. And with the use of the feedback that we got from the community, that really led us to a programming plan that Kevin Clark, the former Grants Pass YMCA, was able to help put together, which really drove the development of this concept plan and really drove the operational plan. So the intent is that this will be self-sustaining based on, so now we're talking about the recreation center, not the Parks and Rec District, but self-sustaining based on the model that the Grants Pass YMCA is currently using and is in a self-sustaining entity. I skipped some steps in there. There are focus groups and lots of other community input, but this was not something that, you know, we just kind of listed our wishes and dreams and hopes and kind of plotted this out. This took a lot of time and effort and collaboration amongst many different partners to develop.
So then the seeking a permanent tax rate would be to fund the district, not the operations of the...
Exactly,
Okay.
right. So in the concept of, and I'm going to say recreation first, right? So we have lots of parks. What we need for the community are really recreation programs and recreation facilities. And obviously we have a community where many people are on a fixed income and there are things that need to be done. There are socially isolated seniors who are disabled, veterans. There are quite a few different resources that we need. That's just that aspect of the population. We can start from the ground up, from children, adults, and the things that are necessary in the community. So Parks and Recreation District, in order to provide services, obviously needs to have some baseline funding in order to provide programs. Generally, some of those programs are offset by user fees, donations, grants, but generally speaking, there is some sort of operational funding that allows for, you know, hiring of district administrators and programmers and recreation aides and all of the people who have the knowledge and experience to create what we envision as the centralized hub of recreation. We just don't have in our community a centralized service where you know exactly what's happening anywhere within our county, within our region of what's going on. We have lots of great things happening and lots of different collaborative partners, the city, the county, nonprofits, variety of people who are doing things. But in terms of having access to those resources, making people aware of what's available, working together, collaborating together, we really need a central hub. And that's really where a Parks and Rec district can provide that. It can pull in all of what's going on and then identify where there are needs that are unmet and then work to meet those needs.
Okay. Last question. It sounds like you've really done your research on this. So do you have an idea of the fee schedule that residents would pay to then use the facility?
The intent, although nothing's written in stone, would be to mirror similar to what somebody would pay to go to any type of YMCA.
YMCA.
So if you could imagine, you know, kind of living in any area, what you would pay for membership, you know, they have structures based on income, and so that fee structure would be nothing dissimilar to any other place that has an operating recreation center with full services.
All right, so some type of monthly or annual fee.
Right,
So,
some sort of, yeah.
so then to go and use the tennis courts or whatever other part of the facility, they would have to either pay, you know,
Not necessarily.
No, okay.
No, those are free right now to anybody who wants to use those facilities. That's part of Bud Cross Park. You know, the concept plan obviously is based, I didn't mean to speak if you were about to, but you know, right. So there's obviously, you know, part of what we provide our community are services, resources, and programs that are important to quality of life, right? So we have access to quite a lot in our community. You know, the city, the county, nonprofits, there are all things that are being provided to community members. Those are things that we enjoy as citizens of a community. So the parks and the fields and the courts, those are all available. So the intent is not to take away, the intent is to identify unmet needs and provide additional resources that are much lacking in our community.
And to help with that, the tax rate that we were discussing, the permanent tax rate, would go to the maintenance and upkeep of all of the rest of these facilities outside of the maintenance center. So the skate park, the ball fields, the tennis courts, the basketball courts,
So
parking, this, you know, and then for the potential of expansion, right? To be able to provide recreational opportunities in potentially different areas or consolidating those
Right.
To having, you know, one centralized rec community.
Okay. So essentially, all the pieces that are under a roof is what you're talking about. That would be self-sustaining. The tax. Okay.
Yes.
And then the tax rate would go to the maintenance of all the outside facilities, for lack of a better term, and the administration of the Parks and Rec District and other services that it will provide in the future. Okay. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. Last chance.
So, I got a question, Jay. So, what is your thoughts with Chris's suggestion about a sunset on that special district? So, what you just explained, it would just go on and on and on forever. It sounds like.
Correct. Yes, that's what we were initially looking at, because you know this will have to be upkept and maintained through the years, and eventually even further developed. So you know that's not going to be contained in a self-sufficient rec center model.
Right, but it's being maintained right now through the city of Brookings, and you know we're looking at that building. That'll be self-sufficient, but the Parks District, I see what you're saying is.
So the vision there for a Parks District is not in addition to all the effort that would take to provide that, is to right? Because this is obviously not something, you know, if the Parks District happens in November, this is still years down the road. There is so much impact that a Parks and Recreation District can have in our community from all ages of life. And that's programming and staffing and resources that is not sustainable without some sort of taxpayer support. That's where the voters come in. That's where the public referendum comes in. That's where the voters decide what is the priority to the community in terms of providing these resources. And the collaborative partners that we're working with are identifying multiple community health and wellness needs that can be met by having robust recreation programs and facilities. And so the Parks and Rec District needs that operational funding. Now, you know, we just don't have, you know, obviously the predictability of the future, but independent of all of this, there's so much more work to be done, and that's the basis for the support for that. And again, you know, we've had conversations with all sectors in our community. You know, we have students, you know, at the schools who are lacking for winter sports and activities. You know, we have seniors who are isolated in their homes that are lacking for sport and activities. We have adults, again, we don't have access to gymnasiums where we have, you know, so some of that speaks to that, and there are numbers of other programs that we haven't even conceived of that would be necessary for enriching the community, that obviously we need funding. And so that's where the community comes back in. This started as a grassroots community project over 10 years ago. The focus on that was a recreation center. We realize now that for that to happen, a Parks and Rec District needs to happen. And while I understand the controversy of the special district, the beauty of it is it's a government that's created by the people for the needs of the people at the whim of the people. And so this really comes down to what the voters want and where their priorities are. If their priority is having robust recreation and parks, then we will have robust recreation and parks. And
I'm with you.
I'm just here as the conduit. You know, we've had years and years of conversations with people as to what they want repeatedly. You know, the suggestion is that Parks and Rec are important and that there is a demand for this that's not being met. So we're here to put it in front of, you know, the community and let them decide.
Clerk
And that's
Colon,
all we're asking.
Did you have something?
I do.
Oh.
Okay, and then we're going to go to Commissioner Pash.
We've been working with
Don't
this
run
group.
away there.
Renee Colon, County Clerk. We've been working with this committee or group for quite a while, and I appreciate that. Thank you. But again, I heard November. I heard a November election, so I get real sensitive on that. So I think that we had mentioned if you do a petition and you're gathering signatures, everything has to be complete in order to make that November deadline by May 6th. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was August.
No, May 6th.
6 months ahead of time?
Yep.
Oh, my apologies.
So we have plenty of other obstacles and hurdles ahead of us to make this happen. So, you know, I'm certainly not standing here saying that this is a slam dunk for the November ballot. We've been, you know, working very hard. You know, we have a lot of networking to do. There's obviously a significant cost to get this on the ballot in November. You know, again, we're doing what we can to bring this back to, you know, the community who has been kind of feeding this project all along for many years. And so, you know, the opportunity is here, and we will continue our efforts to make this happen as much as there seems to be community support for that.
Commissioner Pash?
Again, I want to preface what I'm going to say with, I fully support this. I think it's a great thing. My issue on the district and the sunset clause is, as Ms. Madison said a while ago with the fire districts. You know, 40 years ago, they couldn't have imagined, you know, our technology where it is now. I'm sure when I was a kid, we laughed at people that the thought was you're going to have a phone on your wrist one day, because it was a 12-pound bag phone that you walked around if it was a portable phone. So technology changes, things change, and I'm just, you know, a sunset clause doesn't mean it has to end. All sunset clause can be worded however you want it. It can say in 10 years or whatever, it gets readdressed. We want to look at the direction of the district. Is it still going in the direction that we wanted it to go? Are there changes that it should be made? Should the tax rate change? You know, those kind of things are what can be written into a sunset clause. I'm opposed to districts that are written into perpetuity. They're as things go on, they change. And as I just said, I'm not picking on libraries, but most kids don't run into a library anymore to wonder what the new skateboard is. They go to their phone and they Google, you know, the latest, greatest things in the world, and they speak it into their phone and it pops up on 30 different pages. So, you know, that part has changed, and I'm just saying it's something that I think you should maybe look into, is some side of some kind of a sunset clause that at least in 10 years or 15 years it gets re-looked at to make sure that the district, what it was formed to do, is still doing exactly that, and tweaking it whatever way you need to. And I think you may find a lot more support in the community that way.
I'm just going to comment one thing on the libraries real quick. During this pandemic, the libraries have been incredibly, especially, well, the last couple of months, they've been a huge support for kids and teaching. And you know, I used to think that the libraries were going out of style. It's just it's not the case. They're becoming more popular, and their statistics for their attendance or their visitors, you could say, is very impressive. In fact, at first I wasn't sure it was accurate, but I am convinced it's accurate. So Parks District, you know, you're trying to draw in all of South Curry County, which is 14,000 people, maybe pushing 15,000. So that's where your support's going to come from, and hopefully they would see that as a real benefit to their citizenship here, and I think a lot of people would, and I would be optimistic that you can make that case, and I think we all can. Mr. Rickert?
I just had another thought. Has there been any consideration given to a county-wide Parks and Rec district instead of just one for South County, as we're talking about the number of special districts Curry County has? It seems only inevitable that once South County has a Parks and Rec district, the other, you know, Central and North County will follow suit eventually sometime down the line. So has there been any thought given to just instead of only including South County, having a county-wide district that serves the entire county?
Sure. So there, only as of recently has it even been a discussion. We haven't, the 10 years that has been put into this project, there hasn't been any feasibility studies, any identifying of what the needs are in any of these communities. So we would be very premature in that process to even consider a county-wide. It would be, and forthright, it'd be a very difficult poll to get Port Orford or Ophir or even Gold Beach maybe to buy into the to a bond measure that would build a rec facility like this in South County. So, I mean, it has been a little bit of a discussion, but it hasn't gone much past that.
And I'm kind of new to some of this, but could the bond not be for those South County residents, but the Parks and Rec District encompass the entire county?
Maybe Council Huddle.
The permanent tax rate.
Sorry, but the bond, the GO bond has to be in the district that's putting out the bond, so you can't have half the district.
Okay.
But a thought, just maybe to ask Commissioner Pausch, if you were going to have a sunset, and I'm not speaking for the Friends of the Aquatic Center, that's an idea that they're thinking about, but if you were, you would definitely want it to be at least as long as that bond to build this building, because you would have a big issue with the bank otherwise. So that's just a thought.
No, absolutely.
And I would think that it would probably, usually for a capital project, is usually 20 years or at least.
20 to 30 years.
Yeah. So, but possibly just if it matched that was a thought.
And I would be in agreement with. I'm just not in favor of districts that are just in perpetuity. They just go on and on and on. You get 3% every year and you go away.
Right. So I just kind of wanted to hear that so that they would maybe hear that when they go back and talk about it. So, and we are planning on putting this on the council workshop on the first Monday of April. I think it's the 4th or 5th. So just to get an update again and get a feel for where they're at as well. So.
Council Huddle?
Thank you. So
Thank you, Administrator Howard.
I wanted to go back to the beginning. I think, Jay Trost, you mentioned that you guys have a lawyer and your lawyer advisors a couple of ways to initiate the petition for a district to get it on a ballot. One would be by gathering signatures. The other would be to have the Board of Commissioners approve it. And it looks like, for the Board of Commissioners to do that, The district has to be wholly within the county, and then if part of the district is within the city, the order has to be accompanied by a certified resolution of the governing body of the city. And so it sounds like they've been, Ms. Howard, to your governing body a time or two, or?
They have, and it's went to the council a few times in a workshop format, and it's been on my future agenda list for a while, but it's been battered back and forth. So we have like a draft resolution ready for them to adopt, but it has not happened yet, but we do know that's a need.
All right, okay.
Cool.
Part of the issue with the draft resolution is it's in the framework of the Board of Commissioners adopting, so if it turns out the Board of Commissioners doesn't have that interest, then we need to revise the draft resolution to present to the city. So there's this kind of chicken and egg loop that's happening.
Yeah.
Do we take it to the city first? Do we take it to the BOC first in terms of sorting that out?
And I don't know that you'd get, other than the feedback that you're receiving, I don't think our board can make a specific direction or decision here today. And the next board meeting would not be till April 14th or so, and then you're pushing up on your May. So, anyhow, those are just some of the logistics on that part.
Yep, thanks for that.
But we're committed to working with you to see if we can possibly help.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Coordinator Madison, come on up to the microphone there.
Okay, so just was hoping that we could take the opportunity to have more thorough discussion on a countywide district from the perspective that, yeah, we have projects like this that need to be funded. Prime example of the needs in North County is the community and rec center that they've been trying to get funded. I know we've looked at putting a CDBG grant towards that project. And then we said, well, let's wait with the conversations of this district coming up for Parks and Rec. Maybe we could look at a countywide rec, a special district that would cover Port Orford as well. And then last week, I don't know if you guys have ever been down to the community center in Gold Beach, but that building was moved there in 4 pieces across the bridge. It used to be Scott's Resort, where Jots is now. It's a historical building, and they're really building capacity for recreation services for the kids in Gold Beach. So we've kind of had some discussions about maybe we could get the district to pass if we included everybody from county line to county line. That way Port Orford benefits in the way that they need, Gold Beach benefits in the way they need, and then Brookings. I know it was a conversation through Parks maybe 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, for a Parks and Rec district. So I think the messy part of that is how do you disseminate what goes where? But if we had the opportunity to maybe explore, without holding this project up, how we could possibly have just one Parks and Rec district countywide and figure out how to disseminate from there, I think would be healthy conversation. Because I agree. I mean, I think we'll see more districts come to the table, or requests anyways.
You're also, though, of course, dealing with the North County, South County Curry Health Network taxing district, and so I know there's still some Gold Beach people that are, that are paying, the taxpayers are paying into that hospital, and we couldn't quite pull the Brookings folks to do that. But I think that's a worthy goal, to pull the county together if it's at all possible, and I think that there's some rationale behind that, and so I wouldn't downplay that concept. I just, you see, and you're well aware of what we would have to overcome there, and so that's just part of the mix, part of the process, part of moving forward, hopefully. Got real quiet all of a sudden.
All right.
Doctor, we're just really, again, appreciative of you driving up here. Director Trost and Administrator Howard, thank you. And I'm sorry, it does need to speed things up a little bit here. If there's a way we can help, I would have bet somebody $20 that we would have till August to get this done. So on the inside shot, I'm not saying that was even likely. I don't think it's impractical, though, to get it on the November ballot. I just didn't know we had 3 months less than what I thought, because there's some other things that we're looking at too to try and get before the voters. So yeah, I've got some work to do. Thank you again. Any last minute comments?
No, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Nice pictures. Good job. Okay, so we're going to close this workshop. We're going to switch our tapes and take 5 minutes and go back into executive session.